फिर से करो. In every heartbeat of life, there's a story.
The key for collaboration is trust. So I would say it's mutual trust and mutual responsibility.
With each shared experience, there is an invitation to each one of you to introspect, to question, how does this resonate with me?
Are we discovering each other? And it's a mutual advantage situation. It's a mutual learning process. I am in the equation again for self-centered reasons, not for selfless reasons.
Join us as we dive into tales that feel rewritten from the pages of our own lives.
Which I call reverse mentoring. But I'm here to learn.
Reflect on each narrative and ponder how these tales mirror your own journey. Because in every shared story, there's a spark waiting to ignite your own path of personal transformation. This is Saujanya, your host, welcoming you to our new series, The Change Catalyst from Attitude Makeover. Akash, welcome to Attitude Makeover. It's an honor, privilege. You can see my face glowing here
I'm
to just
blushing.
have you here.
I am blushing. Pleasure's all mine. It's
Thank
so
you so much.
wonderful. Every experience is lovely, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Akash, I want to start from very early. जब आप इतने छोटे से बच्चे थे, जब मैं छोटा बच्चा था.
Okay.
What was it like? What was your early years like? And then you did a whole bunch of, your education is like amazing. The line of education that you went into is like beautiful. And then you did corporate stint. You were a CEO, you were in HR, you were in marketing. And then movies, theater, production, writing, direction, books, author. क्या नहीं किया है?
Are you sure you're talking about me? It's a bit much. But yes, that's been the journey of my life. Not planned at all.
Where did storytelling start for you? Because you very early on got into writing. And I feel in any journey, it's very important to sort of finish the art of storytelling.
Okay, so here's probably a piece of advice. That if you don't read stories, you won't write stories or tell stories. So it's a process that's extremely internal. And the more you read, the more your competency for telling stories. That's where I come from, given a kind of literary kind of twist to it. However, there are people who are not literate, who read life, as it were, who are great storytelling. So whether secondary information, primary information, observation, or an experience of life, through the written word or through your vision and your imagination, the more you imbibe, the more your skills for storytelling develop. So I guess it's a natural order. So as a kid, there are a couple of stories I wrote, one, and both happened to be. So again, art, of course, there's a craft and there's an art. You need to know the craft first. So the art is good. So I had a great story and an incident, but you're right, but it's not interesting enough. It's personal, but it's not becoming personal for the reader. So that's the craft. That you learn again by reading books, whatever, unconsciously imbibing the way prose is written or the screenplays are written. And I mean, I started watching movies at the age of 3 and being impacted by them. So clearly somewhere, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, beginning, middle, end, these classic kind of structure was inbuilt. And then you read about it, and then suddenly you become, again, thank God for mediocrity, an expert. And then you start doctoring scripts and writing screenplays and winning awards and stuff like that. But so a couple of experiences, they became my short stories while I was still in my late teens.
Wow.
Also, again, back to the roots. My grandfather used to write for V. Shantaram. And the year I was born, a film called Janak Janak Payal Baje released.
Oh, yeah.
That was written by him. So if you've got that world kind of at the back of you. So he was my prenatal mentor, as I call him. So there are bedrock mentors, but those perhaps who were mentoring in a way before you were even born, through your mother or whatever, the DNA, the nurture versus nature thing. So yes, so maybe that skill, maybe just stealing into his room and he was not there, looking at his manuscripts, seeing what stories he told, what poetry he wrote, all that. That's the education. So that's a hybrid model that you're reading the word and you're also experiencing life.
Yeah. Yeah. An important part in that is also, see, here's the thing, right? When you talk about all this observing, reading, it's all a knowledge buildup.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it converts into an experience or a journey when you take that plunge of telling what you've understood to someone
Correct.
else.
Correct.
Or like writing it.
Correct.
That takes a different kind of thinking.
Apart from thinking and the skill, it also requires something very important, and some people get lucky. That's the opportunity. If I don't have you to listen to my story, who will I tell it to?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the degree. So I'm telling a story to a friend. So we are all storytellers.
Yeah.
You sit in a lounge, you're telling a story, and great stories, and people are listening. The moment you convert that into, say, a piece of cinema or a formal thing where there's a meeting going on and the corporate studio head listening to your story, the same story, it becomes formal.
Yeah.
It becomes structured, and then it gets a platform, which is the media and entertainment world. But I think that everyone here is a fantastic storyteller, given the framework of the opportunity.
Yeah.
So you need that. So I suppose what you are relating to is the more formal professional side, that how do you find that skill to do that? I think if you're passionate enough, you tend to build the skills.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky enough, you tend to get that opportunity.
Or is it like, I'm reading, so here's why I'm asking this question.
Yeah.
I read a lot,
Yes.
but that reading doesn't register for me till I talk about it somewhere else.
Correct.
Because how I've understood it
Correct.
gets refined and refined as I start talking.
Correct.
I'm like, oh, okay, they asked this question. I don't know. Let me go back.
Yeah.
The next time I've refined that and I'm going back, it's not like a very planned, okay, I've refined, now I need to talk to Akash and I need to get his perspective. It's like a very gradual cycle.
Sure.
But that's where it gets better and better.
Correct. So that's the principle of communication. True communication, they say it's two-way, is complete only if what you have read, so the intention of who's written it, what you have read, what you've interpreted and understood, what you have communicated, messaged, what has been received, and what has been interpreted and understood, what is the equation between that and where the journey first began? Now, if both are equal, which is rare, almost impossibly perfect, the closer that is, the better the communication process. That's storytelling.
Yeah. I love this. This is very profound. Actually, it might seem very obvious, but it is pretty profound, because I think one thing I realized very late in life is this is the process.
Yeah.
It sort of is very unconsciously there. We don't put it into practice. And so when you don't do this, you've read, it's just knowledge. You read something
And
else, it's
awareness.
good. Yes.
So awareness. So what we've discussed would be very easily said, okay, but some people have the instinct or the art.
So Akash, Attitude Makeover is all about personal transformation. And I feel when you talk about personal transformation, it's not just a career change. It could be relationship change. It could be any of these changes that life throws at us. And you've written about the role of mentoring in a personal transformation journey. And you've gone through multiple of these personal transformative journeys, whether it is switching your career lines, then trying something like story writing, directorial, theatre work, now working with your sons in this whole theatre line, the books. each one I would think is a massive transformation. It's gradual in your when you reflect back, but for me sitting on this side,
Yeah.
there's multiple transformations you've gone through. And I think one intrinsic part that you talk about throughout is the power of mentoring. How early did you realize the role of mentoring?
Ah, okay. So, in a formal recognition kind of way, pretty late, probably a few years before I intended to write a book on mentoring. But unconsciously, even partly consciously, it was from the very beginning. I could sense that, as I said, angels, or there was someone there who was guiding, looking. There was instinct. So quickly, because the book is Mentormorphosis, how change happens because of mentoring. So, and I look back, and when I was writing, I was creating new nomenclature, terminologies. So there are some that are common, peer, mentor, all that is there, but there are others that I created. So half of my, so 14 mentor types are my own sort of original names. So then I look back, and it started with prenatal mentors, as I just explained, teachers and parents, bedrock mentors. So I started giving them a tangible kind of experiential term. And I could sense my grandparents' influence. They looked after me because it's a go-to.
Yeah.
Go-to for this, go-to for that. So paternal, maternal, and they were. I was a kid, but I knew both of them, thank heavens, before they passed. And then my parents, of course, were very, very sort of important part and indulgent even to an extent. And then I could sense that that's my go-to. And that's why when I left high school for college and hostel for the first time, that transition was major because I got out of that insular cocoon,
Safe
boom,
space.
whatever, safe
Yeah.
space. And then suddenly it was intimidating, and then there was a need for support. And then came other mentor categories like friend tours or incidental mentors, or
Yeah.
and then suddenly, based on good advice, game changing mentors. So all that evolved. Vocational mentors who sort of, like a. So when you get into professional college, your teachers, your bedrock mentors now become vocational mentors. So how do you, because they've got so much on their plate in industry and all that in engineering, and then someone is there guarding you, guiding you, and then they become your vocational mentors. And then when I get into the creative field, they're creative mentors, or creative vocational mentors. And so then these terms sort of, for the reader, would make it slightly tangible in the context of my story. And then the book also says, you read, you revisit your history, mentoring history, and
And you'll
do a
find
diary for yourself, a
Yeah.
journal for yourself.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's a cathartic process. And then, of course, I talk about creative mentoring based on my experiences in the arts. And finally, the future, creativity, sort of mentoring for the future, adversity. Then wrote some chapters after the pandemic, during the pandemic as well. So the journey of how you need people. So even in a work from home situation, when you're isolated during COVID, who's reaching out to you? Who's your BFF? So who's your friend-tor? The real alter ego. So your friend-tor is the closest to yourself.
Yeah.
But even that friend-tor will really not know the truth because
It's what you give.
it's not since you were a baby that he or she is a friend-tor.
Yeah.
So finally, the only mentor that remains to guide you, and that's your instinct,
Yeah.
which I call the inner mentor. So yourself.
So let's go to that. If I look at myself as a mentee,
Yes.
which is the
Yes.
word that you use,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
What are some fundamental things that I need to be open with to start, allowing these various mentors to jump into my journey? So it becomes like, not like, oh, I now have to find Akash because I need to learn how to have a stage presence. It doesn't work that way,
Very
right?
interesting, Ade, because you've opened it. It's so simple, but it's so complex because you opened it up. So there are many dimensions to this. So one is your need as a mentee. and a mentor, a potential mentor's capacity to fulfill that need. That's the match. Otherwise, it won't happen. Another important thing for most part of your life and a phase of your life, you can't choose a mentor. The mentor will happen.
Yeah.
It's like the Buddha said, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
So that's another side to it. So there's no quick fix. You can't say that I am in this particular state and I need a mentor. That's some other statement. At this point of time, what you're going through, what exactly do you need the mentoring for? Sometimes it becomes a myth. I want to be an actor. I love the movies. I want to be an actor. I need a mentor.
I need a mentor.
No brainer. Doesn't work. Because your want is perhaps because of your passion. But you might not have the talent for it. Have you got the skills for it? So that's what I call the Jugalbandi. All vocations need to have both things. The capability as well as the passion.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's somewhere you'll be disappointed. So if you're a mentee and you say, you'll have to be more concrete, of course, that I need advice, mentoring, whatever, guidance in a particular way, what do I do? I think, as I said before, the mentee will find the mentor. If your need is genuine and not, I'm having a troubled time kind of need, you will find. That's my belief. That's what I call instinct. But at the end of the day, you know something, that you are searching, it's not happening. It also means it's not meant to happen. And you really don't need the mentor. And even if suppose that theory is belied, there's always you to be your mentor.
Yeah. You figure out.
Most times you will find, oftentimes, that when you need a mentor, there won't be anybody, but you will come to the rescue and live on. That's human nature.
Yeah.
Between the two certainties of arrival and departure, everything else is a jumble.
Yeah. So what you're also saying is, Akash, as you're maneuvering through this journey, first is the clarity of what you're trying to do, getting your hands dirty. So when you get your hands dirty, this natural process of
Yes.
seeking happens. It's not like when adversity or when I'm stuck, oh, now I need someone, who do I look for? It's not that way. It's a very natural process. As you build your talent, you exactly know, now next here, and this is how I go about. And that's how the gradual process happens. Is listening a big part of this?
Huge part. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, including a lot of people you might have encountered on this show, in this program, are great communicators, but they are not. For two reasons. What they have to say is pre-scripted. It's never unplanned thought. It's not really from within. Of course, everything has to be rehearsed, planned. The other thing is they don't have empathy enough for listeners, and hence they are not good listeners themselves. Having delivered it in a perfect manner, they assume that the listening has been perfect. But there are many barriers to even the best communicators. It could be the color of their tie to their accent. So there's a balance between the right kill and the overkill. Somewhere that sweet point is missed, which is precious. And you can only make people listen if you're a great listener yourself, because you empathize with the listening process.
Yeah. And so when a mentorship happens, that listening is on both sides, is what you're also saying.
Yeah, also let me give you an example. You're doing two things just now. There's something pre-scripted. There's a plan, obviously, because there's a structure. Yet I find that you're also cueing off.
Yeah.
You're playing off what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're not saying, okay, I've heard this.
Yeah. Move to the next one.
I'm making him feel that I've heard this.
Yeah.
And he said it all, and
Yeah.
I can move to the next point. But you're also overlapping somewhere with the cue that I've provided you. Now that's great listening.
I must tell you, I'll take this as a. When I started
No, it's an example,
podcasting,
okay.
when I started podcasting, I was a shitty listener. Sorry for my
No, that's
language.
okay. It's
Very bad
fine.
listener and shallow conversationist. I chose podcasting as a platform because it's my attitude makeover. I wanted to change that into deeper conversations. I wanted to have a connection. And every conversation, I wanted to go back with what have I got as learnings from this.
Excellent. So here's where you can edit it later because I'm making it personal. I'm a very transparent, honest person. And because of my nature, crazy nature of just mentoring everybody out sharing, let me analyze this process. If I look back and get critical later, I'll find fault.
Yeah.
No, you find fault
Absolutely.
with me also. This is bad.
Yeah.
What I do is bad, but that's the way I am. That's your physiological state. That's mind, heart, and body are all getting mixed up. But that apart, you've grown for one reason. If this was a paid TV anchor program, you would be behaving this way.
Yeah.
There is an earnestness that comes for the desire and the passion to do it the way it is.
Yes.
That's why it's working. The same person, I'll say, oh, Saujana, tere ko kya ho gaya yaar? If you're getting paid that much, give me. It becomes a different equation.
Yes.
And that's why when we talk like that, there's a not a lump but a warmth in the heart, and you tend to get a little soft in the head with this kind of conversation because it's getting close to the home truths, that the true person. So my rejuvenating programs in leadership are actually rejuvenating talent for adventures in leadership, because we are so busy, and like this includes a lot of your guests, I'm sure, becoming the true great professional, that the core person that you once were is lost down the way.
Yes.
You have to keep some part of that clenched in your fist.
Yes. Yes. You must be hungry to go back to discover that first, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the need I'm talking about.
Correct.
That the fact that I'm making sense to you and myself right at this moment is an inner need somewhere for whatever. Reinforcing, validation, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you feel good.
Yeah.
And I don't need it from you, you don't need it from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just how we find that moment in the clutter of life.
Yeah.
To suddenly find that little moment of truth.
Yeah.
And be happy.
Yeah.
Some gratification.
True.
Yeah.
Akash, one bit that we've not covered in the Mentee part is also this passion. You know, many people understand purpose. It's fortunate if you figured your purpose. But a lot of them maneuver through it. It's a long journey. It's not like an overnight trip. Oh, this is my larger purpose in life, right? And so you have short goals. You have short visions of, I'm going to try this. Then you take the plunge. We talked about listening. You start getting curious about it. But somewhere, it leads you somewhere else. But all these experiences sort of connect and join for you eventually. How much of a role is curiosity in this process? And how much of a role does this whole vision, shifting vision and curiosity come together? Because it makes one wonder, am I headed the right way? Am I doing it right? There's a lot of self-doubt that comes through when your vision is sort of fluctuating, or it's not pivoted. It keeps moving, isn't it?
Hey, important. See, as a creative person, you can't be creative without being curious. That's what we say, you know. Innovation is a result of curiosity. I think the definition of an objective, a goal, or vision can be different. I think goals should not be seen perhaps as conventionally as goals, the point to reach. I mean, it's a cliche now. What if the journey is the goal?
Yeah.
Then that, whatever the variance, that's your
Part
goal.
of it.
I think attainment, so attainment, ambition, aspiration, somewhere down the line, this has got to do with a temperamental match. That I'm a master of none. I'm a jack of all, which is actually a derogatory term. Jack of all, master of none. But it's also about temperament. The reason I do this, perhaps my DNA is one of an impatient person.
Yeah.
So once I get here, it's close to saturation. I just need to move. It's like water finding levels. Like Osho saying saturation is gratification, or vice versa. Yeah, so I think polymaths is a temperamental need. You cannot plan to be a polymath. You cannot have a vision or a mission. I want to be a polymath. It's just not possible. It's part of what you are. And clearly, and it's easier said than done, Sojanya. You can't say that make the journey your mission. How? It's everyone has to have some goal. And I see that. I don't know, but you know, you can always embellish your journeying, your traveling techniques with certain influences like curiosity, inclusiveness,
Yes.
big need. And the moment you do that, you just find that it's a comfortable pavement. You've been paved well in your journey, and then let's see.
Yeah. In this whole process, Akash, are there things a mentee should not be looking at, should not be thinking of, or should not be doing?
Primarily, it's in the question itself. Not be disappointed if the mentor doesn't happen. I'm talking about a pre-state. And not to be disappointed if the mentoring relationship doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
It's like any other relationship. How do you move on?
Yeah.
And this is lovely Ted Lasso line that a good mentor hopes the mentee will move on. But a great mentor knows he will.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. See, for me, one of the reasons I set up Attitude Makeover is, Akash, when I was growing up, you gave clarity of those words, right? To your, what you said, when you reflect back and you write your own mentor journey,
Yes.
you'll see who are those people. I've had those people
Yes.
throughout,
Yeah.
right? And it's not like I went and reached out, hey, I want you to.
Yes.
They were there when I needed it the most. And it's also probably the way I went and approached,
Yes.
the way I asked
Yes.
those questions.
Yes.
Very unconsciously, there was that bond for a very brief period, move on. But we go back to say, hi, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Sometimes we've not gone back. Well,
Yeah.
and that's all a natural process. Another thing for me was also this platform then becomes that through my guests and through these conversations, it becomes a mentoring platform for many. Because I might connect to just one line of what you say, and that might just change the way I think for my
So
life.
that's a category called incidental mentors, which could be quasi inanimate books, statements. So excellent. And a piece of advice: if you have the recordings of all your sessions,
Yes.
with permission, of course, write a book based on who said what and important learnings. What have you assimilated out of this interaction? Then it becomes a worthier
Yeah.
cause where you're manifesting it more tangibly
Yeah.
rather than stream of consciousness.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Okay.
Now let me go to the mentor side. That's a tougher one, isn't it?
I don't know.
So here's the thing. For like 13, 15 years, I've had this whole thing of like, what I've learned, when I talk about it, I learn better. And so there's a very selfish reason why I'm getting into going and talking about it. But in that process, I think I've impacted a few lives.
Yes.
But there's a selfish side to it. Is mentoring selfless, first of all, or is it somewhere there's a what's in it for me?
So here's something. I read there's a journal called Psychology Today. There's something known as a helper's high. Everything is chemical, if not physiological. Hormone shifts or whatever. So, like the chemicals that go through metamorphosis. So, a tip to a panhandler, a beggar, makes you feel good. Now that's selfless, but not selfish. It's self-centered.
Yeah.
You're not depriving anybody. You're just wanting to do it for your own self.
For yourself.
An act which does good or doesn't do bad for someone, which makes you feel happy, you owe it to yourself to be self-centered. To put a label of selflessness is probably taking it to a hogwash stage. So that's why helpers high.
Got it.
So whether Rockefeller gives donations for glory or anonymity donations happen because of just payback, a payback that makes you feel like paying back, which is again for yourself. There's nothing that is purely selfless. In the process like mentoring, there's nothing that is purely selfish. And within that, to give you an example, what is an artist's muse? The classic example of all great artists having a muse. Now, is it Oedipus? Is it Electra? Is it platonic? Is it caring? Is it just sharing? You never know. Is it lust? We don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the spectrum is too wide. And people have analyzed it, and there are too many variables. It could be anything. It could be just one bad day or one feel-good day that can change your destiny. So I don't think there's a rocket science to an extreme kind of labeling that can happen in this relationship equation,
Got
a mentor-mentee relationship.
Is it then more like a conversation than a very structured way of saying,
Okay, so here's my deal on whatever the HR experts say about the difference between coaching and mentoring. Mentoring is more informal. Coaching is formal. So here's the deal, that it's like an office romance vis-a-vis a romance outside it.
वो अलग क्या है मेरे को पता नहीं है.
मेरे को भी नहीं मालूम, but I'm saying office comes within a framework that's provided.
I see what you say. Yeah.
And outside the office with the two individuals, then there's no structure. So that's the difference, the formal versus informal.
Got it.
So it could be, again, the degree, and I'm taking my view back in a way because I'm saying mentoring should be formalized. The informal way mentoring happens should be part of a formal organizational structure.
Yes.
Now, create a situation which leads not to just a short-term, mid-term coaching exercise, but a longer-term, informal mentoring exercise, but make it part of the best practices.
Yeah. Yeah.
So similarly, what I said about office romance vis-a-vis a school or a college romance, that degree of formality, there's always a framework.
Yeah.
A cafe is a framework.
Yeah.
It's an environment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So minor differentiations, but there are.
Yeah.
But I'm saying so if you are on a desert island, you meet somebody, only two of you, so that's as informal as it can get. There's no structure at all. Uh, but I think that's the clear differentiator about the mentoring equation. That's more informal, it's more conversation.
Yeah.
Truly that.
Yeah.
I think you've put it well.
Yeah. I like this part about the need for formalizing an informal
Yes.
process. And
No,
it's
so for the HR experts, and I've gone on record and I've had many leadership forums, including one on AI, where I believe uh, that whether it's succession planning. So here's the deal. When I began Tata Motors, we used to have a personnel officer just for salaries, or an IR officer for industrial relations on the shop floor. Soon cut to general manager personnel, cut to vice president HR. So you had a series of VPs, GMs, factory DGMs, whatever, telco, big company, all that. Suddenly I've cut to again CHRO, CLO, learning officer, then whatever, CIO, CTO, whatever, talent, everything. So if a CLO, Chief Learning or Training and Development Officer can happen beneath the CHRO, then my utopia would be one day to have a CMO, a Chief Mentoring Officer. If you, in your philosophy, in your big talk, say, we believe in mentoring, show me your CMO.
Yeah.
And it's not about salaries alone, it's about accountability and how much do you value a particular function.
Yeah. Very early on in my career in HP, there was this whole thing that our CEO is called Carly, was Carly. And so she had come, visited India. She set up something called the Women's Mentoring Circle. Okay? It was so interesting. She said, I want it small, first thing. And there were 10 women. And it was not like the highest or best performers. 10 women, whoever were interested, signed up. So they were at entry level to very senior women signed up. She got someone else from Singapore to log into one of these mentoring circles. Each circle lasted for 13 weeks. She gave 13 weeks time after she went back as well.
Outstanding, yeah.
And then each circle, she would bring different women from different parts of the
Amazing.
world. And we would talk everything. You tell me what is the common problem. That most of the time, initially, because you're not comfortable, there are 10 women, you will start with work life balance. Gradually, you start opening up into your real problems. And there are women talking about how, and it's not coming from a space of this is how you should do it also. This is how I did it. I don't know how else.
That's storytelling.
And then the others would say, I've tried this.
It's an amazing model here.
It was beautiful.
Amazing.
Are there some don'ts for the mentor? What you should not go with?
You must not go with a preset notion of your own beliefs. You can't impose. It can get perilous. So a mentor without listening skills or the ability to empathize is a disaster. And this is from personal experience. Setbacks have happened.
Tell me more.
Misunderstanding. Impatience can be a virtue because it's efficient. Impatience can be perceived as harsh, setting targets that are feasible but not particular to the mentee at hand. So empathy again. And you learn. So there's a whole chapter about impatience, the misplaced virtue of impatience.
What can go wrong there? Like, let's say you tell me, Saujanya, as part of this, I'd like you to go give this a shot. And I couldn't.
No, so
what can
that's
go
a
wrong?
very unilateral, kind of easy. I want you to do this. I think the whats are not that important because the mentee has come because of the what. What do you want? The want. So the want is this. So I want you to follow this path to attain that want. That's a hero's journey in screenwriting. Okay? What's your want? What are against what obstacles and odds you overcome, and that's your journey. Okay. I think the house The whys are clear, that's my need.
Yes,
The
got
whats
it.
are clear because that's my want. The method, how. One size doesn't fit all. Exactly what you said in your women's workshop, mentoring sessions. I'm not asking you to do this. This is how I did it. That, to my mind, is the perfect way to guide somebody. You glean whatever you need to, but my way cannot be either the highway or your way.
Yeah.
So that's really the sensitive, tricky part. And it's also actually a great litmus test for whether that mentor mentee equation is the right fix. Because this doubt will not come in if that's not been fixed already.
Yeah.
So the right mentor and the right mentee is actually a process of discovery first before the hows are in place for getting the what.
What goes into this discovery process?
Talk, conversation, listening, telling, sharing, believing, finding and sensing an equal value belief system, all that. And that's your, again, empathy. That's the antenna. I mean, what am I grabbing from you?
And is it more a mentee's responsibility in this process, or is it more a dual responsibility?
So the key for collaboration is trust. So I would say it's mutual trust and mutual responsibility.
How personal would you go in this conversation?
Gauge it. So what's your pickup line, as it were? How do you form relationships? By discovering how a companionship can be.
Yeah.
It's not about mentor, mentee, great, let's fix it. It has to be, are we discovering each other? And it's a mutual advantage situation.
Absolutely.
It's a mutual learning process.
Yeah.
I am in the equation, again, for self-centered reasons, not for selfless reasons.
Yeah.
And for personal gratification, which in case could be a younger person I'm learning from, which I call reverse mentoring.
Yeah.
But I am here to learn. A mentor who's refusing to learn from a relationship is not a mentor.
Yeah. Trying to be a hero.
Trying to be, do good, if anything.
What's the worst experience you had as a mentor or as a mentee?
So mentees, I've had no bad experience because they would not be in my book as a mentee qualifying as mentors. So once you label someone who's a has-been or happening now as a mentor, there's an acceptance that this mentor works, so there's no bad experience.
True. True.
But there are mentors, and in that you have to be a little open and practical. That while it lasted, it was great. Just because it didn't last, I cannot take the goodness away from that equation. So mentors, if otherwise, see, a bad mentoring relationship is a contradiction, an oxymoron of sorts. Then it's not a mentoring. If it's gone bad, it was just an attempt at an equation that didn't work out. So I think thoda sa there's a threshold of, there's a blurred line. And the worst experience as a mentor, no, it's all learning. It's all learning because I can't. So here's the thing. There are 10 students in my class. I'm mentoring all of them. But they are there for a reason, maybe not to look for a mentor, circumstantially in a situation or environment where someone is facilitating, probably, not mentoring. It's like any workshop, creative or otherwise. And if one or more of those 10 actually click and come back to you and actually say, and it's happened to me, I would like you to mentor me.
Yeah.
Which means that's the beginning of a trial and error process of journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it begins with coach-teacher.
Yeah.
So coach-teacher job, facilitator midterm, career. Mentor, vocation. So job, career, vocation. The true calling
Nice.
is from vocare, the Latin term for calling. The
Yeah.
priests used to say, this is my calling from God, vocation.
I love this. I think this three-boxed analogy is beautiful. I want to slowly shift gears if you're okay with it. As a left brain and right brain balanced person, because of all your experiences in
Yeah.
multiple decades now, I would think that the creative side would have opened up new knowledge about the logical side for you as you are going through this whole transformation process. How much of that has changed who you are? Let me ask this, why I'm asking this as well. One thing I've observed with my guests, when you're coming from a background as a technology or an organization, you're so polished, you're so, it's like a grind. You get perfect and better at that. Whereas when you're looking at a creative person, it's a journey, vulnerability is part of that. Here, vulnerability is not looked up so much, whereas here, it's a very important part of it. The humanness is holistic. There is the mind, there is a body, there is a social you, there is an inner you. All of that comes in a package here. Whereas here, it is more what you see,
Yep.
right? So I'm thinking, having got a very balanced mixture of both, as you were evolving through your journey, what were some things that really changed for you, and what are things that you still see as this side has not imbibed on this journey still?
By that side?
You're that side,
Huh.
and from that, you are actually also doing quite a lot
No,
of leadership stuff.
I think there would be not much detailing in this process. There would be broad brush strokes. I think a la what? McGregor, the human side of enterprise. So the right side had brought that to my technological experience. That we are all human resources. Please think they are human resources and not just a department.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that impact. Interestingly, the reverse is more true in my case. That to my informal sort of free flowing moves within the creative world, there's been a proper scientific organizational capability that's built because of the influence of the left to the right.
It's the method,
It's
the
the method in the
framework.
madness.
Yes, I get it. So you like the chaos here,
Yeah. So,
because
so
that,
order and chaos
yeah,
is a good mix.
yeah.
And humanness on organizational behavior.
Would you recommend this for everybody?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Because everyone does it.
Yes.
They're not thinking they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going to the movies is part of creative learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Arranging this is part of creativity.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between a creative person and a creative artist.
Yeah.
Most people think that we can't be creative, we are not artists. That's not the point. A human being is creative, doing things differently. Change this glass, kitchen, housewives, all creative.
Yeah. And it's also then what you're saying is the connectedness of your left and the right.
Correct.
And seeing that connection.
So on one side there's total chaos,
Yeah.
where you enter a room and you don't know where you've come.
Yeah.
It's a dump. And the other is OCD. So, I mean,
Yeah. And we all have both sides.
both
to it.
sides to it. And the true north of the sweet spot is somewhere in between.
If you were to give an advice to your own 25-year-old self, what is it?
Just do what you did, what you're going to do. No regrets. Because if your goal, mission is to learn, So Alice in Wonderland, if you don't know where you're going, any map will do.
So, what does attitude makeover mean to you?
Compassionate behavior.
It's a beautiful way of expressing it.
In this day and age, just be kind. There's too much shit around.
Yes. And okay, now I'm going to your work, your artwork. Okay, what is it like working with Naseeruddin Shah?
Like it's talking to you.
No.
Just stay in the life of. It's like him. Nasir and I have gone back, and he's written the foreword to my book. We've been friends or colleagues or co-workers for what now? 40 years? 35, 40 years. Yeah, so it's like you're working with the Tatas and you retire with the Tatas and then you've grown from management trainee to executive directors on the board. That familiarity, that I won't say there's no discomfort after a while. It's
Yeah.
just comfort level, assume level, some disagreement, but he's been more consistent. My awe has changed to equality.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, I was in awe. I'm telling you, I'm seeing Manthan twice, talking about him for an hour as a telco intern, management trainee, sitting at the metro steps outside midnight, and cut to interacting, meeting, working in the theatre, now mutual friend, philosopher, guide.
Nice. And that is the process itself.
Process.
Right?
Process.
You trust the process.
So collaboration and trust. Now, my first play vis-a-vis my next play. So, I don't know. Maybe it was just. In fact, I saw a recent interview with him, and he was asking about whose mind do you like, whatever, and he said, "Who do you know is the best listener?" It's a coincidence, huh? It's in this context. And he said Akash Khurana.
Yeah?
Yeah. What a coincidence. I was blown. Where some author somewhere wrote to me that we were listening to Mr. Shah's interview and he called you the best listener.
Wow.
So it's very sort of interesting that it came up just now, this conversation.
Wow. I must tell you, I was probably 13 or 14. Doordarshan used to show some of these award movies on Sundays, I think, in the afternoon. So I watched your first movie, the Sham Benikal movie. I was probably 13, 14 at that time. Yeah. It stuck around because I was a big fan of Smita Patel. And it stuck around. What are you working on today? They were telling me you're doing a web series.
Yeah, they've done one. So I've done a few that are already on air. And there's one film which is probably is produced by Geo Cinema and called Sector 36. And there's one web series which I've done called Blinded. That's it. That's done. You just have to release. Oh, there's another called Disconnect, which I have a cameo. That's pending. Currently, I'm not shooting for anything. I've written a web series which I'm just trying to pitch. I am working on I'm writing almost complete tribute to Shakespeare for the stage. So I need to get back to that and finish it off.
Where's the future of theatre going? Because why I'm asking, you've been involved with movies, you've been involved with web series, theatre, playwriting, the whole gamut. Where's it headed?
So, digital technology has changed the face of cinema.
Correct.
Uh, so clearly. I'm a director. On 5D and 7D, I've shot a film which is a journey from up the Ganges, from the top down to Sundarbans. It's won about 20 odd awards, international festivals. So I didn't go to film school, so I've shot that film. Technology. During the Mahakumbh, I had an 8-member crew, including the actors. 8 people. In Chicago, I shot a film with 5 people. I used to push the trolley. So that was a bichel. Now with technology, GoPro, everyone's a filmmaker. iPhone, everyone. Anyone who says no budget, throw him out. Creativity does. You have a story to tell, you can tell it.
Yeah.
That's the big change.
Yeah.
So there will be this huge Marvel universe and the Pathan Jawan universe, and the in-betweens will. So probably some socialism is going to creep in the commerce of industry, thanks to digital technology, because of OTT and whatever, phone. Television is related now because now there's almost an overlap. Theatre is the oldest, thousands of years. It's been dying forever, but it hasn't died.
Yeah.
As long as there are 2 people sitting and telling a story, that's theatre. Theatre can happen at Chaudhaya, it can happen at Rangashankara, it can happen in this space.
Yes.
Today I can just stand up and start performing with 3 people watching. That's theatre. Chal, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.